Another game that I was very excited about. It's on PlayStation Plus if you want to go check it out. Plucky Squire, unfortunately, is kind of disappointing, at least for me. And I know there's a lot of other folks that feel this way too. I think this is a great game to introduce your kids to playing video games. Um, you're never going to be challenged. Maybe some of the puzzles are going to be a little bit harder for them to figure out initially. Or you could be there to kind of help them, like, oh, move the word around and do this or whatever. But the combat is not challenging at all. You're never it's Zelda, but without having to worry at all about losing lives, or because even if you do get hit by an enemy, the next enemy is going to give you like the rest of your hearts back or whatever. And look, this game literally, you could put Link in it, and he's literally doing a lot of there's a lot of taken here from Zelda. Obviously, that's the hugest inspiration for this. Aside from being basically, it is told like a storybook for children with a narrator and everything, and that's great. Like, I think that is the best part of this game. Like, as a story, as a narration thing, as a style thing, it is great. The going through 2D, 3D, that stuff is awesome. Like when it actually happens, like when you do it and you do the whole moving through 2D and 3D to solve a puzzle and all that stuff. And then when you get the powers that will actually move the book around and things like that, that's actually really cool. And I think that doesn't really ever go away as far as like how cool it is and all that. But I just think that that's the problem, is that like I'm in chapter 6, there's 10 chapters. I'm probably going to finish it just because I kind of want to see how it ends. But honestly, I got to like chapter 5, and that's actually why I finished Astro, because I kind of got bored with it, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to start doing all the other stuff I need to do in Astro to get the platinum, and see if I can beat that level that I can't beat or whatever. Right. And yeah, it's because like I got halfway through and I was just kind of like, okay, I mean, this is neat and all, but yeah, it's just not, it wasn't grabbing me that much. Like after I'd done the thing where you I went through all the grass and got all the coins, or not the coins, but the light bulbs. They changed the light bulbs in this game, and you unlock different powers, and the powers are cool, but then the upgrades don't feel like they do anything. So then I'm wasting light bulbs on the upgrades, and it just doesn't, like, it sucks because it's a beautiful game. It's a game that like deserves all of the indie hype that it was getting, but then it's like one of those like, oh man, you got to the final product and it just wasn't as good as you wanted it to be, right?
Yeah, it's called We Happy Few.
Yeah, so it just kind of sucks that is the end result of that. I'm not saying, look, like I said, if you have a kid to play this with, a young kid, I wouldn't say like a teenager like my daughter probably won't be drawn to this too much, but especially if they like, cartoons or anime or whatever, this might be something you want to throw on and be like, all right, let's go on an adventure together and play this. And I think that's good for that.
Yeah.
The story's cute. The characters are they're neat. Like they learn about each other and learn about their, they understand, like pretty early on, they learn, okay, I'm in a book, right? I know I'm a character in a book, but it doesn't mean that I know I'm going to die, or like I have to be okay with dying, right? Like I can actually change my fate. So they learn about that as it goes on, and that's good. Just like I said, it's just the gameplay part is kind of lacking, because
it's the same story as Terminator 1. No fate but what we make.
Yeah. And then like the thing too is like the 2D stuff is fine, but then when it goes into 3D, it kind of feels like it gets kind of stiff, and some of the things you have to do to like get to the next part, to because there's some of them that it's like an actual like level that you have to go up, and then you're doing the stuff like in Mario Odyssey where he would go into those like 2D levels, and you do this in that game where you go throughout the 2D and 3D as you're getting keys and opening doors and stuff like that while you're still in the 3D world, and that's great. But then like when the hardest thing is these like, for some reason they have stealth sections where you have to get through a cockroach, and that's like the hardest part of the game. It's not great. So, and I get it. Again, they made this with the idea that perhaps this is kids playing it, but kids are not going to be the ones reviewing it. Kids are not going to be the ones trying it out on day one. And I think that's the problem, is that they kind of didn't factor that part in. Like maybe would have added I'm playing on the normal mode. There's a story mode that's even easier than what normal mode is. If they would have added like a hard mode or something like that, maybe for the adults that wanted to play the game, maybe that would have gone better. Kind of like Final Fantasy 16. They would have made Final Fantasy mode available from the start. I bet there would have been a lot of people that would have liked that game more. Because that was one of the biggest critiques of that game, was it's way too easy. So unfortunately, Plucky Squire suffers from a lot of the same fate there. So
it's too plucky for its own good.
Yes. So yeah, that's it for me as far as playing games. But yeah, we'll appropriate that this week the Zelda Link's Awakening successor, or the same team that made Link's Awakening, coming out with Echoes of Wisdom. To have an original Zelda game coming out after a game that definitely wanted to take a lot from Zelda, but didn't quite hit.
Right.